Life moves pretty fast. If you don't stop and look around once in a while, you could miss it.
Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Welcome to the channel if this is the first time you're here. This is a book review, but it's one of a graphic novel. It's a graphic novel that is definitely for mature readers. And it's not because it's full of violence and because of it being full of nudity or serious subjects. I mean, it is all about serious subjects, but the reason why I think it's important to know that it's a mature reading experience is because of its content and its life lessons, its attitude to life, the sort of thing that I don't think you could properly appreciate it if you're in your teens or in your 20s even necessarily, I don't know. But certainly if you're my age or in your 40s or 30s maybe, I think you'll get a lot more from it. I think it'll resonate more because it's definitely a book about the meaning of life, if you like, but the things that matter in life, the relationships you garner in your life, the moments that make every day important. Actually, I think that's one of the messages in the book, that every day is important and every day has to be lived like it's your last, literally in some cases, but that idea that every day matters, and also that you have so many parts of your life that are wondrous or joyful or very special and unique, and we all get them, but I think we take them for granted, and this book talks about not taking that for granted. I'll tell you what it is, and I'll sort of carry on waffling about why it's so brilliant. Daytripper by Fabio Moon and Gabriel. They're twin brothers from Brazil, and this book, Daytripper, originally came out in 10 parts, released as Vertigo comics. So DC has a sort of sideline branch, which is Vertigo, which is where you got the V for Vendetta story as well from that, and that was in 10 issues as well initially before it came out as a trade paperback. So this is now a trade paperback. It's actually quite difficult to find because I've heard about this online thanks to Goodreads. Actually, I was looking for sort of recommendations for graphic novels, and I saw this and I was really intrigued by it, and then I started looking around for it, and I asked a few comic shops if they could order it in, and they said they couldn't, but I did end up actually finding it in a comic shop recently, so I was pleased to see it, but it sounds like it's not quite as readily available as you think it might be because of its reviews and its reputation. So it does have a really good reputation. When it came out in 2011, it won 3 separate significant awards. So it won the Eisner Award, which I think is mentioned on the cover. Yeah, Eisner Award winner there. But it also won the Harvey Award and the Eagle Award as well in 2011. So yeah, very much well appreciated when it came out as a trade paperback. So these twin brothers wrote this book that's largely set in Brazil about this character called Brás de Oliveira Domingos, and he writes obituaries for a newspaper, and he lives in the city. He's got a best friend that features in the story a lot, who's also working for the same newspaper as a photographer. And for like photography is his best friend's passion. But Brás just wants to be a writer. That's what he wants to do. He's kind of frustrated by the fact that he hasn't written his great novel and he's writing obituaries, which is not what he wants to do. But the obituaries are quite an important device in the book because the whole book is littered with obituaries, and it starts off with some examples of Brás's obituaries, which kind of sets the scene. The first chapter definitely sets the scene because it sort of sets the scene for his job, but it also sets the scene for the relationships with his family, his parents especially, and it talks about him having to go to this event for his father, who is a successful novelist. And he knows he's got to go reluctantly, and ultimately, I'm not going to spoil anything by saying what happens because I went in this blind. I'm so glad I went in this blind because the way that it develops is quite shocking. So I'm not going to tell you much about the plot, but I will tell you that the way that it's structured is not very linear, so it jumps about from different time zones. So through the book, you'll see Brass as a 32-year-old, and as a 21-year-old, as a 76-year-old even, as an 11-year-old in one bit, which is really, really lovely bit. I mean, I shouldn't take out that bit. It's all really nice. And also as a 28-year-old as well. And these different moments in his life are significant. And they're also, as a book, it's talking about the significance of these moments in your life. And it covers different things like his first ever childhood kiss, a dramatic moment in his job, which gave him an insight into his own writing, the birth of his child, some more stuff with his parents, a very significant relationship that he had in his early years, or not his early years, but kind of in his 20s, where something like one of those sort of beautiful kind of before sunrise kind of moments. Don't know if you've seen the film Before Sunrise, but that kind of like platonic start of a friendship turned into a more serious relationship, and that gets explored in one of the chapters. So all these different things are explored, and these really important days of his life are accented by the same thing happening over and over again, and it's used as a plot device. So I won't tell you what it is, but it's really powerful, and it's really the dialogue is really powerful. The relationships are so real, and I was really affected by it. It really makes you think, and I mean I'm in a bit of a reflective mood anyway at the moment, and this was the right time for me to read this. It really was. If you are feeling a little bit like that, and I'm not suggesting you read this in the middle of a midlife crisis, but I'm not having a midlife crisis. But if you are someone who is reflective or is in a reflective period, I think you'll get more out of it, because it does focus on the ways that our life, the way our life's events have meaning, and the way that they culminate together to produce these relationships we have, either with our father, which is explored quite a lot in this, or as a father, so his relationship with his son. That's done really brilliantly. His relationship with his parents and with his sister and with his wife and with that girlfriend he has for a while. And the way that he deals with events I could really relate to. So and some of his inner dialogue I could really relate to. So I thought just the whole personification of Brass and his character development and his whole approach to life I could relate to. So it really hit me when sort of serious stuff happened, and the plot device was done so well. And basically what it does as a book, you've got this sort of spectre of death hanging through the whole of the book, but it's used to celebrate life. It's used to hone in on the special things that make our life worthwhile. It uses death to reiterate how every single day in your life matters, and every relationship matters, and it's just like the thing with graphic novels is I seem to be drawn to graphic novels a little bit more reflective, and I think one of the things that's really clever about the way it's structured and the way it's drawn and the way that the panels work, the pacing is done by the moments of silence or the moments of quiet, the moments of something physical happening in the book where there's no dialogue, those kind of things. And I think that's done so well here. And and also I love the artwork as well, by the way. So I really do love this. So this is that's his son, and then you've got that's his wife, and you've got really sort of touching story when he's trying to find his best friend. His best friend features in it a lot. His best friend is probably the big focus of the story, That's him and his best friend there. Yeah, that's in most of the story. His best friend's that age, and in the previous bit I showed was a flashback, there's moments of his childhood. I love this sort of artwork. It's awesome. There's something sort of real but characterized. There's some sort of bridge between those two things that I just think is wonderful. And that's him with his mother. Again, beautiful artwork. And in all of this, all of these different stories, he's trying to understand how his life has worked out as it was, and his relationships. And this is the character that he spends a long time with at the beginning. So this is the kind of girlfriend character, and she kind of opens him up to a different way of approaching life. But then they get a bit serious, and it kind of changes. But I thought that was a really magical bit of the story, actually. It's quite early on, but I could relate to that idea of being open to different perspectives and different relationships when you're that far away and you're kind of like letting go of your normal everyday life, and then you see this other area when they go to El Salvador. Him and his best friend take a break to Salvador after they finished college, and I think it's, the world's opened up at that point, and I think it's just really interesting that that's when he meets that important relationship in Salvador. But yeah, I think I've managed to talk about this book without spoiling the really important big conceit that runs through the whole thing, which is I'm really pleased with it because I didn't want to spoil it. But I definitely recommend it. I couldn't recommend it enough. It's so fantastic. It's really powerful. It's really thought-provoking. It really makes you think about your life, especially either if you're that kind of reflective person or if you've had enough life experiences to have reflected on those kind of things before. I am a dad, and I'm also the son of a broken marriage and the son of a broken home. My childhood was quite traumatic, so I get reflective about those kind of things sometimes. My job is a very complicated job, and I definitely get reflective over that sometimes. Every year, at the end of the summer holiday, I think, do I want to go back to that? And I've had a very long relationship with my wife, so we've had different things happen to us as well. There's lots of reasons why you could be reflective and lots of things to think about. And I think this is definitely a great springboard to do that. You do end up, immediately after I read it, I was very moved by the whole thing, and I read it in one go. Over a space of a couple of hours, and immediately after I read it, I wrote a couple of poems about my kids, and it just burst out of me because I was kind of thinking about it. So yeah, it's got at the back there, what are the most important days of your life? And that's a really big, it's a good phrase to use to kind of sum up what this is about. This is about how important every day is in your life, how important life is, how wonderful life can be. It's a very life-affirming thing about the beauty of life, the beauty of experiencing life to the fullest, and appreciating the relationships you've got, and experiencing and appreciating every day. So a very important book, Daytripper. It's a lovely book, and with really cool artwork. Thanks a lot for watching. Bye.
Picture of what it's like to be you. You sit up on your high chair, on the outside looking through. I know